Welcome back. As the year winds down and the matriculants anxiously wait for their results, we take a look at a factor that can improve overall performance of schools and learners. And that is instructional leadership, that we're told can help improve performance by over 25%. Well, like you, we're curious to know, how does it work? My guests are Dr. Vusi Chuta and Ms. Kaya Nyati. They are here with me to tell me a little bit more about this idea that hopefully will improve the performance of the education system. And welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Let me start with you, Doc. Just briefly tell me about the practical, well, let's explain. What is instructional leadership before we talk about the improvements that you have seen?
Well, Tim, instructional leadership, it's an approach to improving teaching through leadership, which stems from way back as 1980 during the school movement in USA, especially improving school leadership, because it was discovered after many years of struggle by schools in the USA. And when this approach was introduced, and it gave some spin-offs. So it's an approach more related to teaching and learning. It's more on curriculum, focused on curriculum. How, as leaders, we support that which is done in a class. And that approach is called instructional leadership.
Is it different from the old assessments of school inspectors as we knew them as? I'm told in recent times that there are no school inspectors anymore. You know, teachers can improvise as they go along and hope for the best at the end of the 12-year cycle or at the end of the year.
Yeah, well, definitely it's different, but it's not that teachers must improvise and see themselves through. It is different in the sense that it is more supportive than judgmental. You see, the inspector system by that time would be more focused on the do's and the don'ts, but here it's more of support, of guiding, of mentoring the school leaders and teachers so that they find their way through.
Okay. Now, Kaya, tell me, how did you implement this? How do you work with the schools practically to make them understand and appreciate the benefits of instructional leadership?
With the Department of Education in the Free State, which is where Dr. Chuta is situated, we actually implement a program that is bigger than just instructional leadership. We are into the business of capacitating educators to be able to deliver curriculum in the classroom. So back to your question of how we implement this instructional leadership, as Dr. Chuta was saying earlier on, it is all about encouraging and supporting the educator into curriculum coverage and actually managing how they deliver that curriculum for the betterment of the learner outcomes at the end.
And please bear with me, because you know many parents and people who are interested in education, you talk about teacher support, people wonder, what more support do they need? I mean, if they've been given curriculum and they've been trained and the textbooks are there and everything has been given, what else? What type of support would that be?
Look, there is more to it than that. Educators need continuous capacitation, like any other profession as well. So in the case of instructional leadership, they are actually capacitated into the actual completion of the curriculum against all the frameworks that instructional leadership would provide them. So we support them from a curriculum point of view. So how do you pace yourself? What tools do you use to make sure that at the end of the year, the curriculum is completely covered and the learning outcomes are guaranteed?
Well, Dr. Chuta, you've got a practical experience of this. I learned that your district, Fezile Dabi Education District, has been the best performing district nationally for consecutive years now. 2017, 90.2%, 2018, 92.3%, but several years ago, you know, the rates were 58, 60, 63%. So substantial improvement. What happened?
Well, Tim, it takes time to get there. We actually started around 2009. And by that time, yes, the percentage was around 60 something. and up to 92, where we are at the moment. Look, as far as instructional leadership is concerned, one key element in instructional leadership is crafting of a goal, of a vision. And crafting that vision needs a collective effort. In many instances, people have intentions, districts have intentions, and educationists have intentions, teachers, parents, everybody. But the problem is that there is no buy-in into the goal. And one of the key elements, as I said, is crafting of that vision. So what we did as a district, we came in with a vision, and it was driven by a slogan that we called, or that we used to refer to as moving beyond our limits. And we interacted with every stakeholder in the space. It'd be parents, it'd be community structures, where we were outlining the importance of performance and the importance of performance beyond grade 12. And that journey did not start at grade 12, started at earlier grades, where a push was started from as early as primary schools, bringing the importance of reading and manipulating numbers, the ability to manipulate numbers quite a lot. And through a series of interactions, that's how we're communicating even our goals, because that is one of the shortcomings in many instances. A goal might be good, but how do you communicate it, and how often do you communicate it to the rest of the people that are affected by that goal? And this is what the district did through vigorous programs that we implemented, and we came up top.
Well, stakeholder management in the education sector must be one of the hardest things to do, I'd like to think, Kaya, because in many, or at many schools, parents do not pitch up for parents' meetings. Yeah. And some of the schools are basically dysfunctional when it comes to principal and or head of school and the teacher relationships, the discipline of the students or learners. So all of these factors come into play. How do you make sure that you get the vision right and you get the buy-in right, given what we know to be the case at most of our schools at this time?
Look, Kim, KST, the model that we implement is actually called the District Whole School Development Model. Precisely for that reason that we chose to call it the District Whole School Development Model, specifically for the purpose of being able to get all stakeholders into one room. So you can be able to get into the room, the relevant stakeholders, you get buy-in from them, and when you start to advocate and implement the program, you actually all move with one vision in place. It's indeed a difficult thing to do in the schooling sector. But what we have found, though, in the Free State particularly, is that when you approach stakeholders with a goal that they understand and they have an interest in. Remember that education is part of the tools we use to alleviate poverty in the communities we work in. Nobody is uninterested in the alleviation of poverty. And for that reason, you have a common vision then with all your stakeholders. But the important thing, though, is to make sure that you actually engage those stakeholders such that they move with you towards the end vision. And therefore, those stakeholders would include your funding partners, which is the Department of Education in the Free State in this case, your community members, your learners themselves, the educators, because we all believe in the one vision and the one goal.
You know, probably I want you to be practical with me, right? As somebody who's not directly involved, but I've got an interest in education. There's a school that I take a particular interest in where I come from. I want to go there and find out and talk about instructional leadership. How would I know that there is instructional leadership taking place? If I may ask you, Dr. Chuta, that what will I see? What should I start asking about? And I'm not saying this to catch people out, but I'm saying this to interest them in the event such instructional leadership is not taking place, if it has to.
The first thing, Tim, and viewers, that you will pick up that indeed there is teaching and learning happening in school is the environment. The external environment of the school is very key. When you enter any premises, they tell you more about what is happening at that institution. That order is the first thing. And this is the function of a school leader, in this instance referred to as the principal. who must ensure that there is order at the school. And by the conducive environment, I mean, it must be a habitable place. And as you enter there, immediately you see such a school. During school hours, learners being in classes, teachers being in classes as well, teaching, principal literally running the school, being visible around the premises of the school. Then you will know there is something happening in that class. And furthermore, the accountability levels that are very key at the level of schools, that principals must ensure that they are there. Because many a times, people just do as they please without accounting. And instructional leadership is more about accountability.
The results speak for themselves, but is this being applied across the nation? This instructional leadership approach?
Look, it is being applied across the province of the Free State Department of Education. However, KST and the Department of Education implemented in the partnership in the 2 districts, one of them being Fezile Dabi, with whom we have been working now for the past 6 years, and one Motewa district, which is based more towards Bloemfontein. So for the past 6 years, we have been implementing this model in those 2 districts. And I can say to you right now, Tim, many of our schools, you can actually tell as you walk into a school if there's discipline or no discipline in a school.
Sure.
And we do think that it is part of the outcomes of the instructional leadership model.
Well, it is working in the districts, but is it there throughout the country, or is it something that needs to be taken to other districts as well?
Definitely, in this instance, I won't be talking on behalf of other districts.
Yes.
But indeed, in our province and the district, is taking place.
Well, I mean, if you are achieving the results that you are,
yes,
then we want the results to be spread throughout the country. So
absolutely.
What is holding this back? Is it a problem, a question of funding, decision-making? What is it?
Well, Tim, I think it's the willingness to be part of the driving forces from all leaders across the length and breadth of the country. Because for us to win schools, we must fix districts. District offices are a hub of education system.
One thing for sure, I've been empowered to ask this question to those in leadership when it comes to the delivery of education in the country, national, provincial. I will be putting this question to them.
Sure.
And Kaya Nyati, thank you very much for having been our guest. Dr. Vusi Chuta, I appreciate your participation in the show as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
And in a short while, we will be discussing World AIDS Day. How far has South Africa come? In the meantime, I'm inviting you to use the hashtag #TheModise Network to share your thoughts and views with us on social media.